Yo, what is up? We are back. No Crypto from No Border Sports, and I got my man Raj from our San Francisco 49ers here. We're coming at you. What is up,
What
Raj?
is up, man? What is up? A busy week. I am so hyped up. I wish it was week 1 of the NFL season right now. Let's go, man.
Like, we don't even care what comes in the draft. We're ready to go now, bruh. Let's see what you got now, everybody. Oh, snap. Hold up. I want to give a second. Bryant Culp, he just had a wonderful little boy. Let's see, Murphy, I believe the name is. And he might be coming home tomorrow with the family and coming back to the house. Let me make sure I got that name right. I'd be doing him a disservice if I was running around. He's a little tired right now, as you might understand. Yep, little baby Murphy.
Congrats, my man.
So
there you go. Congrats. Good stuff, man.
I remember when my daughter was born, like that first night, she would just wake up and she'd just want to, cry. And then I just say her name and she'd chill. and she'd freak out a little bit later and then she'd say her name, Faye, and she'd chill.
Yeah, dude,
I named my daughter after the faithful.
Did you? What's your daughter's name? Faith?
Yeah.
Nice. Faith. I like it. Dig it.
She deserves it. She's actually named after her middle name. She shares the middle name with her mother, my mother, and my stepmother. So that's what she's really named after. But I kind of made it all work. You know what I mean? And
very good. Yeah, I remember when my daughter was born, man. Seemed like yesterday, but 14 years later, here we go. But you'll never forget those days. But yeah, man, congrats to my boy Bryant, man. Good stuff. It's always cool when you have a new kid in the world, and congratulations. And hopefully you get some rest because you won't be anytime soon.
No, that oh gosh, that 6 to 8 months was crazy. And then after that, my daughter just slept through the night, so it wasn't an issue. But for 6 months, oh my gosh. Let's get into this 49ers talk. Holy crap, we got so much to talk about. Let's run down any signings that we might have heard of today. What's on the plate?
So today was depth day. That's what I called it. I was live earlier. We recapped everything. Today was depth day. They re-signed a defensive tackle, T.Y. McGill, on a 1-year deal. They re-signed linebacker Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles to a 1-year deal. I mean, they're not sexy signings, but they're moves that are going to allow them to have depth. We need that. You need depth because we lost role players. You got to make sure you have role players on the team. Demetrius Flannigan-Fowles, he's a special teamer. He could compete for that linebacker 3 with Azeez Al-Shaair, or with Azeez Al-Shaair leaving. So he could be a depth guy. You got McCreary Ball, you got Oren Burks, and now you got Flannigan-Fowles. They're all going to be slated to try to fight for that linebacker 3. McGill, I like that guy. He was a good special team or defensive tackle on the team. He was on the practice squatter. He came in and he made some nice plays here and there through the season because there was a lot of injuries on the D-line, man. We had a ton of injuries on the D-line, and he was a good depth piece. So nice little re-sign. Again, 2 small names. They're probably not going to move the needle for most people, but to me, they're good depth pieces, and you need it because yesterday we lost a lot of role players. Yesterday was a day where they signed more players, so far in terms of players that can actually probably give you some heavy snaps. Isaiah Oliver, the cornerback, and Clelin Ferrell, the defensive end. So those are the more unsplashy names that they've had the last few days.
But when you say depth and say not fancy, nobody gets. But that's how when someone goes down on that wonderful defense, it's like things don't change. It's because of people like that. And so bringing them back is so our linebackers hit hard. You never could keep all 3 of them healthy through every game in the season. Okay. So Flanagan Foles is going to see time, starting essentially, or come, some sort of time, in a starting role at some point in the year. I bet. So, to bring somebody back who's familiar with the system, we already like him. We already think, he could be, plug and play. So that's great stuff. And you're right. TJ McGill, he gave us a lot of good push up front last year. And I believe he got injured. And that's one thing that was kind of, like it was, man, when you see somebody flash like that and then they get injured and it's like, we got no more flash. You know what I mean? Like it sucks. Like, this is the guy. We've been looking for a guy to do this all year long. We need somebody alongside Bosa to do this. And, then he was really nice in the run too. That's why I think I really like him is how effective he was in the run game.
Yeah, good run stopper. And, you had another guy, Kevin Givens, they brought back this week. They re-signed him too. That's another guy. I really liked him. Sneaky defensive lineman. But again, he got hurt. I feel like everybody on that interior D-line was hurt. Armstead was hurt. Kinlaw was hurt. Kalia Davis was rehabbing a ACL. He didn't even get to play. Maurice Hurst didn't even get to see the season. Hassan Ridgeway got hurt. Like we mentioned, McGill had to brought up. They had to bring him up. Kevin Givens, that's why you need the depth. Because you're right. Even though they're depth, at some point they might actually play some big contributing minutes. Like they might start a game here or two. You can plug and play. And the fact they know the system is good because you're losing some quality players. Every year you lose some players that you're like, oh, man, he's a good rotational player. But on the 49ers and in any football team, those rotational players sometimes have to be the next man up for a few games. And you're only as good as your depth. Like you have great stuff. Everybody has great starters and good quality, elite players, core players. But if you lose those guys, if your depth sucks, your team sucks. You don't want your backups to be bad players. You want your backups to be pretty formidable players. When we always talk about the 49ers backups, we're like, man, these guys are good enough to be starters on other teams. Well, lo and behold, we lose Amenahu and Ebicam and E-Man and all these. They're going to be starters on whatever team they go. Dan Brunskill, all the guys we lost this week, they're not just going to be depth players like the 49ers. They're actually going to be starters on other teams. For the 49ers, they're backups. Our backups are other teams' starters. The Niners run the league, man. Look at around the league. So many teams have former 49ers players or coaches or front office staff that they make a big leap anywhere else. But on 49ers, you're like backups. It's like, he's a backup player. But, Tennessee Titans, they went and got Azeez Al-Shaair. He was linebacker 3 on the 49ers. He's going to be their top linebacker on their team. So just shows you how great we are.
Yeah. And that depth is the reason why. It's so intricate to how our success is, because offense or defense doesn't matter. Somebody's going down and their backup is going to be playing at some point in time on this team. And to have guys who can essentially step in, like the starter didn't go down. Now there's not every position, like left tackle. Obviously we don't have a left tackle that can come in and be a Trent Williams, but you're talking about these guys can step up and, not have that much drop off compared to who they're replacing. And it's like, like the moment they step on the field in that position, they just start playing out of their minds.
Yeah, it's crazy how this team just stockpiles talent. You bring them in, and then they look like an amazing player. And then some team looks at that film and they're like, oh man, let's pay him $20 million. And 49ers are here, go ahead, pay him. We'll go find another guy to develop and work him up, especially on the D line. You have Chris Kasurik, the freaking wizard of the D line. This man, he'll go bring up, we signed Clelin Ferrell. That's the guy we talked about, right? The defensive end that they signed. Former number 4 pick. Obviously, he was a bust. He didn't reach his draft potential. But the 49ers, they take guys like that, they're projects. They're guys that were scrap heap players. They're on the bottom of the barrel that people give up on, and they fix them. It's like they give them a renaissance in their career. It's crazy. It's like, okay, Arden Key a couple years ago, guy was a bust. It's like, he was terrible, but he had talent. Arden Key, now he's getting signed to $1 million contracts around the league because of the 49ers kind of made him kickstart his career. Samson Ebicam and Amenahu, those two guys got paid between them $47 million between those two guys. I never even heard of them before the 49ers took him in. And Kerry Hyder a couple years ago, the 49ers had him. He had double-digit sacks on the team. He got paid by the Seahawks. Who the hell's Kerry Hyder? 49ers are going to make Clelin Ferrell probably a 5-sack guy. It's just incredible how they develop talent. Even Lakeland Tomlinson. This guy was on the 49ers a couple years back. He was a cast out. I think he was a first-round pick by the Lions. Got cut. 49ers take him. And he was like a fixture on our O-line until last year. It was like, dude, this guy is a bust. And they fixed him up. So shout out to the Niners, always developing quality talent. I'm going to let you take this comment here.
Oh, yeah. Just shout out to Steve-O. He had kind of a rough day yesterday. He got booted from Mariah's channel. But this is really concerning. The Jimmy G presser was canceled, and he hasn't signed the contract yet. Well, I wonder if it was canceled because now, as I was sitting here and you were talking, and I was just thinking about how I was going to say what I was going to say on this. I was thinking, I wonder if Jimmy already saw the reaction from the Raiders fans and was like, I don't want a San Francisco 2.0, bro. Like, but is there a place in the league where he could go and not get a reception?
The comments were brutal, man. I was like, oh, man, it was brutal. It was brutal. I mean, I feel bad for him because he's going to another team that it's probably going to be the same situation. He's already off on a weird foot. Like, obviously, I'm not going to speculate. There's a lot of speculation going on around the NFL on Twitter, like, oh, maybe he failed the physical. Maybe this. There's a report that's saying it's nothing. It's just postponement. Like, I'm not going to speculate anything. He's not on the Niners anymore, but that's a bad start to his career with the Raiders. Like, the postponement of a press conference. I've never seen that happen before. Like, to me, it's weird. Hopefully everything goes well, but the comments, man, on those Raider posts were pretty bad. But you know what? It's not my problem anymore. And I feel that was one of the reasons I was like pro, we gotta get Jimmy out of here. And it's not because I didn't like him. Again, I respect the guy, class act, but there just always seems to be drama following him. And it's just always some type of just headache. And you're like, come on, man. Like, the only quarterback I've seen to have his press conference canceled, his welcome press, like, that's crazy to me.
Damian Lee says, I wish our O-line coach was as good as our D-line coach. And I think they tried that. They went out and got somebody who was the best offensive line coach in the league until he got caught on camera snorting cocaine, talking to his side chick about how, you're pregnant, but when you're not pregnant, we can do lines of coke again.
They kind of gave him a second chance in the league. Oh my god!
They gave him a second chance. So he was he's that player that falls in the draft because something that happened and everybody's all upset at him. Okay, so I can't remember his name. Chris Forrester.
Yeah, Chris Forrester.
Yeah. Look, and if people can move on from that, look, I don't mind a guy blow a little coke and do this and that. That's whatever. Your life is your life. But like while you're on the job, bro, like that's in between meetings. You know what I mean? Like that's in between meetings. Like that's a little much. Side chick. I'm not one for cheating, but that's neither here nor there. I just use that for reference. Yeah. He was doing a lot of things bad at one time and thought he was cool by doing it all. So, you know what I mean? I don't, people like that, you never know if they're going to feel like they can get away with it again. I used to work in the beer industry and we had a guy who got in trouble being high on coke on the job. And he was a salesman. So they made him into a truck driver. And he found, they made him a truck driver for 2 months, and he found that he could get his route done, and he could be drinking at the bar by like 9 o'clock in the morning. And when they told him go back to being a salesman, he's like, no. There was times they had to drive a van out there with 2 people in it to go to the bar because he was so drunk that he couldn't get the truck back. And this is back when when you delivered to bars, you had a beer at every stop. So you're talking about 20 stops a day. You're having a beer at every stop because it's insulting to leave without drinking a beer with the owner. Anyway, so in the days where people were drinking beer and driving semis 24/7, he was too drunk and they'd have to come and get that stuff. He took all his money one day, about $25,000, and put it on black and lost it.
Oh my God.
And they took it out of his check, $50 at a time.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Wow. Yeah, don't do drugs. That's the moral of the story. I mean,
don't.
Jesus, man.
Don't drink and drive. All that stuff's bad.
It is. It's bad. But yeah, going to Chris Forster, going back to I wish our O-line coach was as good as our D-line coach. He's a good coach, but I feel like he's probably had so many hardships after dealing with all that stuff and all that news came out. It was kind of detrimental to his mental health, and I don't think he's recovered on. It's noble the 49ers gave him an extra chance. So they're, I'm sure he cleaned up his act. He went to rehab or whatever. That was, I think, part of the deal with the NFL. But I mean, still, like, you go through something like that, you may never be the same, like, mentally. And he probably, maybe he doesn't have that same tenacity. I mean, maybe the coach gave him the tenacity to coach those guys up, as crazy as it sounds. But, I agree with Damian that I wish our talent was better developed on the O-line as the D-line. But I will say this, you got to give him some type of credit, because if you look at the last 2 years, Aaron Banks, man, that guy was a dog last year, and everybody thought he was going to be a bust. Jake Brendel, a journeyman, he turned into a stable center for us now. He's got a 4-year contract this week. That was one of our key signs this week. And then you got Spencer Burford, who was a rookie last year, rotated with Dan Brunskill, and he was a really good starter. So maybe we're looking at this the wrong way, because Chris Kasurk is just a god on the D-line. Like, it's hard to be that level. I mean, if you really think about it, our O-line actually exceeded expectations last year, with those guys I mentioned. Not everybody's going to be Trent Williams, like you said. And I feel like those guys actually were better than we thought. So maybe, just maybe, our O-line coach is good. But to compare him to our D-line coach is tough, because our D-line coach is so, so good. So, I mean, that's the way I guess I look at it.
And if you notice, for the most part, a lot of our offensive linemen are late-round picks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like Trent Williams, obviously he was a free agent, moved over here. He was a high pick when he came out. Aaron Banks was a higher pick when he came out. But everybody else on there now is a lower ranked pick, and it seems like they're trying to do the same thing. I just wish the 49ers would. It seems like they rely on players to work on form and technique in the offseason. And I think when it comes to offensive line, I think it would be handy to have somebody on the field with them working out technique real time. You know what I mean? Because I think that might help, because a lot of these coaches in the NFL are just schemes. They're good with schemes, because by that point in time, you're supposed to already have known all the technique stuff. You know what I mean? Or be working on it as you go. And I wonder if they had somebody like that in the building, if they wouldn't be able to get a faster start on this.
Yeah, especially because you're right. They do get a lot of younger guys, a lot of later round guys. And no disrespect to our later round guys. It's just maybe they're later round because their technique's lacking. So to get them a head start would be great for them, because they got a lot of young guys actually right now. Jason Poe, undrafted. Nick Sakel, 6th round. Jalen Moore, 6th round. Those type of guys, a lot of undrafted players. Jake Brendel was an undrafted player. Spencer Burford, 4th round pick. So, I mean, if you really look at the line, it's not made up out of Brunskill was an undrafted guy until he got signed this week by the Titans. And then McKivitz, he was a 5th round pick out of West Virginia. So all those guys, other than, like you said, Aaron Banks and Trent Williams, were 4th round or higher. So it's crazy though, because they are better than a lot of people think. Because a lot of people say the 49ers O-line is terrible. They were pretty good. It's the depth. I'm a little worried about the depth, because swing tackle to me now is an issue. Is if Colton McKivitz is your starter, I'm like, okay, whatever. He's our starter. Maybe you can be as good as McGlinchey. That's fine for a lot less money, which is okay. But it's the swing tackle, because if McKivitz goes down, then we're screwed. I don't believe in Jalen Moore. If McKivitz was a swing tackle, I'd be okay, because you need to upgrade that right tackle position to a better quality player. Not saying that McKivitz won't be good, because again, we're comparing him to Mike McGlinchey. Mike McGlinchey was not a good pass protector, but he was a good run blocker. So at the end of the day, if McGlinchey or McKivitz is a better pass protector than McGlinchey was, then that's a dub. And he's going to get paid astronomically less. His contract was like $2 million a year, compared to Mike McGlinchey got paid $87.5 million, $50 million of it guaranteed. It's a lot of money for a guy. I think
They
it's
are
a
going to be
5-year deal.
so unhappy.
Shit, man. Yeah, they are.
I want to talk Sam Darnold. I want to talk Sam Darnold. I didn't watch his press conference. I didn't get to see that part. What were your takeaways from that? So I kind of get a feeling of what was going on.
Yeah, I watched them all. So Sam Darnold looked like a kid in a candy store on the podium today. So I talked to you about this right before we hopped on live. The guy was so happy to be on the 49ers. Like he was like beaming with joy when he was talking about Brian Greasy and Kyle Shanahan and the offense, and he just wants the opportunity, and he's just there to know he's on the roster to help win no matter what, and he's happy for his opportunity if it comes. That's kind of the gist, and he says, "Hey, look, I'm really intrigued by Kyle Shanahan and Brian Greasy and what they do. Especially, he was really raving about Greasy and how he handled the quarterback room last year. You had Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, and Jimmy Garoppolo, and they all had to play. And the way he just kept on rolling with the punches and the way they kept winning games. And he was like, man, 3 different quarterbacks, and they were all able to, go out there and execute the scheme and stuff. He was pretty excited. You could tell, like in the back of his mind, I bet he was like, holy crap, I'm on the 49ers. This is the best team I've ever been on. The coaching staff is amazing. The weapons are great. I think me and you, before we came on the live, we were saying that he probably wishes he would have been drafted here. Like, that's the vibe I got today watching his press conference. He was ecstatic, man, smiling from ear to ear. He was like, yeah, I'm on the 49ers, man. Jesus. So that's kind of the vibe I took away from it.
Do you feel that it was the 49ers offense or being around Brian Greasy? Because I feel that Brian Greasy has a lot to do with the success of the quarterback room last year. I'm talking about Jimmy's better play. I mean, Jimmy played lots, but statistically, Jimmy played a lot better last year than he has before. I mean, his interception to touchdown ratio is a lot better. It wasn't the every year it's 2-1. It wasn't that last year. I can't remember what it was. I looked at it, was like, oh, that's just better. Can't remember what the numbers are. And then he had Brock Purdy ready to go. I would just wish we could have seen what Trey Lance could do, and that's what we'll see this year. Yeah. But I have a feeling he came here just for Brian. Really wanted to be here because Brian Greasy. It seemed like you got somebody who wants to teach you good habits.
Yeah, he's a great QB coach. Obviously he was a quarterback in the league. He wasn't the greatest, but he was a little bit above average, I'd say. He had some decent time. He knows the Shanahan system because he played for Mike Shanahan many, many years ago. So he knows the system. He was a good analyst. If you know the game, you're going to be a good analyst. I think he was a solid analyst. I liked him. But in terms of a quarterback coach, I really liked him. I enjoyed him last year because you're right. He got the most out of Jimmy Garoppolo. Garoppolo, when he came back, like, I know people like to joke about him and whatever, but that was like Garoppolo's best season. I was impressed. Sometimes I was like, is that really Jimmy Garoppolo? Is that what's going on? So, I mean, he got the most out of him. And then, Brock Purdy to come in and do what he did as a 7th-round pick was just like, wow. I was blown away by what he did with Brock Purdy. And that, to me, is a lot of mentor and guidance from a coach. It's not just the quarterback going out there. Like, you got to give Brock Purdy the credit to go out there. You got to give Jimmy to go out there. They went out there and played and put the film on the tape. But I feel like a lot of that has to do with the quarterback coach. Because if you look back before Brock Purdy was there, Jimmy was the quarterback, and he wasn't doing those things. And you got to look at what was the one difference. And I remember saying this last year when Jimmy was having his little renaissance and resurgence and stuff. And I was like, what's the difference here? It's the quarterback coach. Because, yes, the weapons are great. The 49ers had a lot of weapons. Obviously, CMC was a big part of that. The 49ers didn't have CMC. We got to give him credit for that. But Rich Scarlangelo was the quarterback coach for many years. I mean, I feel like he was not a good quarterback coach. If you see his, he left the 49ers. He became a head coach for Kentucky, and they sucked. Absolutely sucked. So it's like you could tell he probably wasn't a good coach. And Brian Greasy comes in, and here you go. The 49ers offensive efficiency was way better. So I think you're right. Maybe Darnold, because he talked about Greasy a lot in that press conference. So I do get the vibe that you're right, that there probably was a big connection with Greasy that he really liked. Maybe when he met with him and talked with him, that he was like, hey, maybe this is a guy I want to be around and I can get something out of him.
And one thing I'd like to point out for people, the reason why you see a lot of like, backup quarterbacks or average quarterbacks come in these types of roles as like quarterback coach or offensive coordinator and stuff like that. It's because when you're not gifted to be able to play in the NFL, you have to find other ways around it to stay on the field or stay on a team. And when some of these people like a Brian Greasy don't have the gifts and the talents as other people do, they have to figure out, they have to learn the hard way. They've got to train 10 times more to stay on the field. They've got to learn, they got to watch more tape, you know what I mean? Because they have to get every advantage they can to try and be adequate out there on the field. So I think, after it really translates into coaching because that's what they had to do all that time. They found all these little ways to make their life better. And someone like Brian Greasy, he wasn't necessarily put in all the best situations. And that's same place Sam Darnold's been. Not the best
I said the same
situations.
thing earlier.
Yeah.
I called him
some reason I keep trying to call him.
You're absolutely, that's such a good point because Sam Darnold has been like a kind of like a cast off, like a guy that failed, right? He was like a number 3 pick and he just was not living up to his expectations. He was never put in positions to succeed. Bad coaching, no weapon, all those things, right? Obviously, we talk about this is probably the best team he's been on. But Greasy was in similar situation. He never had the right coaching, and he was always, not meeting expectations. And I think they share a lot of mental and kind of experiences like that, mental experiences, and they have a lot of things they can relatable experience. That's the word I was looking for. They have a lot of relatable experiences. And I think also with Sam Darnold, he probably sees a lot of that in Trey Lance too, because again, he was a number 3 pick in the draft. And there's a lot of relatable experiences with this team. And I think Sam can be a really good mentor for Trey Lance. And I know people are going to be like, oh my God, Sam Darnold's terrible. For a QB3, I think Sam Darnold was perfect. He's still only 25 years old, got some mobility. He's got some talent. I mean, obviously he's not going to be a QB1. We've seen it, but if he has to come in an emergency, play a few games and manage the game, I'm cool with it. And I'll never forget that Jets game we played them a couple years ago. That game was traumatizing because all the injuries and stuff. But I remember Sam Darnold in that game. There was that pass. Oh God! And I posted this the other day when we signed him. I mean, it was so crazy. I mean, I remember that game, that play. It's like lives rent free in my head. Like it still got me in a chokehold, even though that game was whatever. I just remember walking away after that game going, that fucking play by Sam Darnold was amazing. If that was Patrick Mahomes, they would have played that on SportsCenter on a loop. Like, oh my God, the people would have. That play was so. I mean, God, he escapes the pressure, rolls over, throws on a freaking one leg dime touchdown, and I just going, is that Sam Darnold? What the hell? So he's got some talent, man.
So, I want to kind of move to the draft a little bit. We've seen the 49ers make a lot of moves here in free agency. It seemed like they've kind of shored up most. I would think they've kind of shored up most of their free agent moves. You know what I mean? There probably be some other non-splash calls. I don't know if we're going to see any more splash. I don't know how much money's left in the coffers. But do you see us? I don't know. It seems like we made a lot of moves for our defensive line so far. Do you see us going in the draft with defensive backs for like safety and corner?
I think they'll spend a pick or two on secondary. I feel like they're pretty happy with where their secondary is right now. I would like to see them get maybe one more edge before the draft. I don't think they're going to make a splash. I don't think they have a lot of money to do that yet. And also, they got to save some money for that draft, for the draft picks. We're talking about a $7 to $9 million for those guys. So I don't think they'll make a massive splash. I think early on they'll probably go O-lineman because we just talked about they need depth. They need quality depth, which we would talk about earlier, that the 49ers have quality depth players. That's what they need. That's what they need is making sure they have good depth on the O line. Maybe they can go get someone in free agency, like a guard or a line or a tackle. But there's no like lineman out there in free agency that I'm like, oh yeah, we got to get him at this point. I think they got to draft secondary. I think they'll definitely grab a person. But if you really think about it, their secondary is kind of, I mean, it's pretty much the same as the secondary that got him to the NFC Championship. Minus Jimmy Ward. Jimmy Ward missed several games. He got moved to nickel, and now you just basically got a replacement for Jimmy Ward with Isaiah Oliver or Sam Womack. Sam Womack's going to compete. Now you have a big competition in camp between Womack and this new guy Oliver, and let the best man win. Whoever doesn't win will be a special teamer. And then if you
Jamie Oliver, if I remember correctly, Jamie Oliver, he's kind of a big body. He's tall, right?
No, Isaiah Oliver, the guy they got. So he's like,
yeah,
he's kind of like he's a small guy. He's kind of like was he 5'11", I think. He's more like K'Wan Williams. He's small. Okay. He played a lot in the slot.
Well,
I think
Diamador Lenore. How big is Diamador Lenore? Because he's not very tall either.
No, but he did play outside last year, and I feel like he kind of took a big leap in that playoff run, So Lenore, I think he'll be cornerback too. You got Charvarius. So if you really think about it, so Mooney Ward and Diamador Lenore, they were your cornerbacks in the NFC Championship game, and Lenore was your cornerback for several weeks after Eman got his injury. Talanoa Hufanga is a safety. You have Tashawn Gibson still there. He's your other safety. That's the duo you kept. The only change is your nickel. You're either going to have Womack or Isaiah Oliver, the guy that we got. And both of those guys are more natural nickels other than Jimmy Ward. Now, the difference of losing Jimmy Ward is he's a captain. He brings that leadership, that mentorship kind of thing. So you do lose that captain role. But as terms of being a nickel, he was never a true nickel. So he was playing kind of out of position early on. Took him some footing to figure it out. So we got a guy that's very consistently played nickel. So I think that's still going to be, I wouldn't say it's a downgrade. I wouldn't say it's an upgrade. So that's a wash to me. I still think that our offense, our secondary is about the same as it was at the NFC Championship. The only difference, again, was losing Jimmy Ward. Obviously a big loss, but, I would have loved to have brought him back.
Do you see Oliver playing outside at all? And then Demo moving inside?
Maybe, but they did. I know Atlanta did try him out on the outside, and it didn't go right because he's not fast enough to play on the outside edge, and he's small, 5'11". I really think they really like what they see in Diamador Lenore. Now you're right, Lenore is small. I'm looking at him right now, 5'10", 200 pounds. So that is undersized for a corner, but I mean he held his own last year, if you remember in the playoffs, and I think he likes that, man. He likes that the underdog mentality. Because they're going to pick on Lenore. And he's a type of guy that he kind of gets fueled by the doubt. I saw that last year. He was liking the negative comments. He would keep the receipts. And I remember him saying after, I think it was the Dallas game, he goes, they wrote me off, but I didn't write back. I was like, okay, Demo. He's got some swag to him. I like him. I know people want an upgrade on him, but, dude, he fucking balled out, man. I think that also, too, you got to remember, they like to save money on players. And Diamador Lenore is going to be a third-year player on a rookie deal, a fifth-round pick. You're not paying him a lot. And if he can have a solid year, you're taking a dub. And the other point is they really bolstered their defensive line. So as long as this D-line's good and getting after quarterbacks, your secondary is going to be protected, and there's going to be less pressure on them. So, I mean, obviously it would have been nice to get a splash cornerbacks, Darius Slay or whatever. But I'm okay with Mooney Ward and
Mooney would have been great.
Yeah. Or E-Man, yeah.
Honestly. Yeah, E-Man, sorry.
No, he was good, but
too many E-Man. We had too many names that sound alike in the secondary, bro.
We did. Well, we had two Wards. They had to get rid of one so they wouldn't be as confused, probably, right? But all jokes aside, E-Man was good, but $6 million for a guy coming off a torn ACL, I think the 49ers were like, you know what? We love the guy, but he's had a lot of injuries, man, over the last couple of years. So I think they were okay with being done with the guy. It's unfortunate. He was a good guy. He was an undrafted cornerback. The 49ers have proven that time and time again, they can take someone that's undrafted or a late round pick and make him a quality starter. That's the thing. Emmanuel Mosley, as good as he was and as much as we wish we could keep him, he was undrafted. Diamond Lenore is a 5th-round pick, so I have all the faith in the world in Diamond Lenore. Now, the guy I don't have a lot of faith in is Ambry Thomas. Nobody even talks about him.
Yeah. I think they moved on from E-Man because I have a feeling it was between either they were bringing back E-Man or getting Brendel. And once Brendel decided to play ball, they said no on E-Man because I think that was around the same amount of money. And you're talking about bringing back your starting center who's going to give your offensive line a better start to the season next year. And you're talking about Trey Lance is probably starting the season. So you want Trey Lance to have the best chance for the start of the season as possible. You know what I mean? Just the only thing we're really having an issue with, it would be right tackle. But I think we got things on the team. We can move Zakelj to guard and Burford to tackle if need be.
Yeah, if they absolutely have to, there is that possibility. Again, we just need to get the depth on that. And I think you made a good point. And it probably came down to, should we keep Emmanuel Mosley or should we keep Jake Brendel? They didn't have a center. You got a couple corners. And again, Lenore, they believe in. So to me, center was a bigger position. You have to keep stability. I mean, we never have the same center every year. It's like, come on, man. So now we got a guy that's going to be there for at least 2 years, maybe the 4 full years of his contract, but at least 2. He's going to give us some solid, play for the at least 2 years. And then you do have Zakelj and Poe, and maybe you can mentor them. And then after 2 years, you kick Brendel to the curb, and then you can start Poe or Zakelj. So I think it's a good situation to be in. And again, we never had that stability at center. When we had Weston Richburg, I was excited. The guy got hurt all the damn time. And then you get, Alex Mack, and then the guy fucking retired on us. So it's like, come on, dude, what's going on? And then there was like other players that played center, Ben Garland and just a bunch of rotate. They every year somebody different. It's like, come on, man, figure out center. And I think they might have for at least a couple of years. So I think it was a bigger priority to make sure you lock him up than Emmanuel Mosley.
No, yeah, I think you're totally right with that. And when I was looking at times things were announced, it seemed like the Niners just finally told him, man, no, we're not going to beat that offer. And we're going. And then they went with, announced the Brendel news, and then Detroit announced E-Man's news. Which
they came within pretty. It came pretty quick between each other, so you're probably right on that, actually. And I'm happy you went to Detroit. It's a good team on the rise. I think that's a fantastic place for him with Jeff Okudah on the other side. Great opportunity. I hope he stays healthy and balls out.
And I think he's got a head coach that'll believe in him. You know what I mean? He's, he's seen where that coach, he's just a man's man. You know what I mean? If you go out and show out, he's got love and respect for you.
If I love that guy.
You make business decisions or do other stuff, not so much. So David wants to ask our input on this. I'm going to let you take the lead on this one. But Ryan and Raj, we have 11 picks. Do we trade up to the second round to take a right tackle, snag a safety later to develop? So I'm guessing he's talking about pairing 2 of those thirds together and maybe something else to try and move into the second.
Yeah, I think the 49ers probably will try to move up. I mean, 11 picks. I can't see them taking all 11 because I don't know if all 11 would be able to stay on the roster. You might cut some, hope to get them on the practice squad, but I could see them moving up. If they want to, if there's someone they really, really, really got an eye on, and he's a second rounder, they'll do it. I really do want them to trade up to get a right tackle. My favorite player in the draft is probably Ryan Mock out of North Dakota State. The guy's just a filthy tackle, a filthy right tackle. That's the guy I think you can trade up. You get him, and I think you're good. Safety, I would love them to get a safety, and I'm pretty sure they're going to get a safety because they got to develop a guy. Talanoa Hufanga was a 5th-round pick, so I'm pretty sure they'll get a safety 5th round, and he's going to be the next starter next season when Tashawn Gibson's gone. But you let them kind of sit and learn behind those guys. And, I think you use a later-round pick on a safety. But if there's an opportunity where you can trade up and you go get a stud right tackle in the second round, please do it. Because it's not that I don't believe in Colton McKivitz. I would rather have Colton McKivitz as my swing tackle, just a depth guy that has that ability to maybe step in, plug and play, than being the main guy, and then having Jalen Moore be the plug and play swing tackle. So yeah, go get Cody Mock. Let Colton McKivitz be your swing tackle, and you're sitting pretty. I think that would be an absolute amazing idea, David. Let's hope it happens.
Now, as far as kicking goes, we haven't signed a kicker yet. This is a question for Brian Culp. He's a fan of the kickers. Do you think we're gonna draft a kicker?
I do. I was just pulling up free agent kickers, so there's just really nobody on. Like, maybe you bring in a veteran so you can have a competition, a kicker competition. As crazy as it sounds, but the thing is, you pay these kickers a couple $1 million. You can go get a Jake Moody if you're going to draft a kicker, and you can get Jake Moody. It's going to be a couple of $100. It's going to be a couple $100K for a This is going to be a franchise kicker, Jake Moody. Like, I know it sounds silly, but Jake Moody's a guy that I'm like, you go get this guy. He's got a big leg. He can kick the touchbacks. He has the ability to kick a 55-yarder. He can be a little bit more aggressive on offense. Young guy. He's played in pressure cooker situations in Michigan. It's a big school. I like Jake Moody, if you're going to be honest. I mean, look at the free agents in terms of kickers. Matt Gay, he just signed a massive deal, 4 years. He got the biggest contract in kicker history, free agent history. Like, he set the market. It's like, come on, man, $22.5 million. Shout out to him. But after that, here's your kickers. You have Greg Zuerlein, Greg Joseph, Mason Crosby, Robbie Gold, Randy Bullock, Brett Maher, Chase McLaughlin, Eddie Pinheiro, who might be an option because he played on Carolina. We have Steve Wilkes, Quinn Nordin, and Riley Patterson. I mean, those guys don't really move the needle for me. So, I mean, obviously Robbie Gold would be great, but it just doesn't seem like he's rearing to come back. It seems like he wants a certain amount of money. Unless he figures out he doesn't have a market and he takes a hometown discount to stay, cool, great, come back, Robbie. But other than that, I'd rather have a younger kicker than any of those guys. Maybe Mason Crosby. I like Mason. He's been a pretty good kicker. He's 38, so he's getting up there in age too. But honestly, I'd draft Jake Moody.
Yeah, kicker of like the next 20 years. Kickers last long in the league. And if you can get a guy, draft him, and, you kind of, just make them yours. You know what I mean? Like, kickers will stay, the whole teams will get wiped out. Kickers will be there. You know what I mean? Like, kickers can stay through many different regimes. So, like, they're good to look into. What round, kind of, where do you see him going at? Because if there's teams in the same situation, like, do you see him going in the 4th or the 5th?
I see him going in either the 4th or the 5th. Some people said 3rd round, and the Niners do have 3 third-round picks, maybe on their last 3rd-round pick, because they have 99, 101, 102. We pretty much have like a little area where we own the draft. If they feel they absolutely need a kicker and they don't have a kicker going into the draft, maybe they take that 3rd pick on that 3rd round and just say, screw it, we'll take a kicker. I mean, that could be a way. People will roast them. 49ers Twitter will be like, I can't believe you drafted a kicker in 3rd round. But he's good enough, man, to be taking the 3rd round. I mean, hell, there's been kickers drafted in the 1st round, Sebastian Janikowski. He's a good kicker. I think he could be drafted in the 4th. The 49ers don't take him in the 3rd round.
The reason why I don't think that's a bad move, no matter what, he's going to play next year. He's going to be starting. So a 3rd round pick on a starter is not a bad move. No, you know what I'm saying?
That's it. He's a starter. Exactly. He's a starter. That's what you look at, is you're getting a starter for a 3rd round pick. And you can't look at the position like, oh my God, it's a kicker. You're looking at a starter that can actually come in and be a player that plays significant role on your team. He'll win games for you on a last-second kick. He's going to put you in good field position. To me, if he's that good of a kicker, you absolutely get him on a 3rd round pick. Real quick, there's some breaking news in the NFL. Browns cornerback Greedy Williams agreed to terms on a free agent deal with the Eagles, according to Mary Kay Cabot. So the Eagles got some good depth, man. Greedy Williams is a good cornerback. I wish we would have grabbed him. That's a good player.
Yeah. it also could be the state tax. It really hurts our team sometimes.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I know. You're right.
Now, shout out to Barry Baller, Eric in the house. He says it's freaking expensive to move up. He wants to stay with the 3 swings at the end of the third.
Yeah,
I'm not opposed to either.
Yeah, I love that setup that the Niners have. Those 3 picks in that third round, like I said, just to kind of control that draft. It's going to be, if they don't trade up, that's going to be a fun little 30, 40 minutes for all Niner content. Like, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be like, oh my God, the Niners are trapped. The Niners are trapped. The Niners, breaking news, Niners. It's going to be crazy, man. It's going to be a fun time. And it's going to be like, oh my God, we got him. Oh my God. Like, to process all that, it's going to be a madhouse. And then we won't draft for a couple more, for a little bit after that. But that'll be a fun little area. Yeah.
We won't that'll be a fun for another day.
Yeah. That'll be a fun little moment for the Niners fans. But I mean, I wouldn't hate moving up, but I wouldn't hate keeping those 3 picks. Honestly, the only way I'd trade those picks is if we go for a right tackle, like Brian said. Like, I would love to go get just a stud right tackle that you could build this team around. Because here's my thing: is okay, I love Trent Williams. He's not going to be around forever, so you still need to make sure that one of your anchors on the side at tackle is going to be there for a long time. That's going to be a star, because eventually we're going to have to replace Trent Williams on the left. You'd rather have a really, really, really strong tackle at least on one side always. That way, when you have to replace the other guy, it's not as hard, So I would definitely make sure we get a guy that can play right tackle, and maybe down the line he can move over to left tackle and take over Trent's spot. So I would pay a lot of money for a quality tackle. And so with the Broncos, they paid Mike McGlinchey $87.5 million.
They should pay their front office a little bit more money to scout tape a little more. Holy shit.
They might not have watched. They might have, whoever sent them tape, probably his agent, probably left out the game. He played the Cowboys and fucking Clowney hip checked them to Mexico, man. Oh God, man.
Now, to be fair, when you get hip checked like that, like all it is just being out of position and somebody just using your body weight against them, against you and your momentum. So it's just a bad place, bad time. You know what I mean?
I mean, it looked worse than it was, but God, it looked so. I mean, when you see it and people tweet it and people post it, it's just like you look at it and you're like, oh, he went flying. Just the still image of him. It is funny, but you're right. It is just a bad position. But the problem with Mike was just the penalties at bad time. There's never a good time for penalties, but his penalties seem to come at like the absolute worst times in a game. Oh my God, man. Critical junctions, So, hey, man, for him though, he got the bag. Shout out to Mike.
Yeah, he got the bag. Want to say shout out to Corey Davis. I don't know if you know Corey Davis, but he has a nice little show where he has little get-togethers. He's got, I believe, a trivia show tonight at 8 o'clock. So everybody check out Corey Davis tonight at 8. Tell him I sent you.
Tell him you sent me, yeah. Good stuff, man.
Let's see. Is there anything else you think we need to talk about that we have left off the table that's intriguing that we should? I'm trying to think.
I think we hit everything. I mean, the free agents. I think we hit pretty much most of the topics. I mean, I've been live all day, every day, and I feel like we've pretty much covered most of the topics that we've been covering. I don't know, anything off the top of your head? My head might be a little cloudy because I've been not resting, just been live all day. So maybe my head's a little cloudy.
Maybe we see them pick up another like utility rotational edge piece that's, depth. But I don't know. I think they're kind of set in the free agency unless they go and get a kicker. They decide they need a kicker. So
yeah. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me because they don't have a kicker. But yeah, if they go get a kicker, probably and an edge rusher, like you said, a rotational guy, I think Jordan Willis, maybe they bring him back, but they're not going to go sign a splash. I'd be surprised unless they go and restructure a contract or two, with CMC or somebody. But I think their restructuring is done for now. They restructured Fred Warner and Mooney Ward. So those were two nice little blockbuster, updates the last few days that helped us bring back some guys, bring back some guys and help us sign a few players. So shout out to them for being, team players and restructuring their deals. But I'm sure they like the upfront money pretty well. So it's always good how this front office operates. Parag Marath, man, he's a wizard, dude. I don't know how they do it, but it's amazing what he does.
Yeah, wish he'd do like a TED Talks or a master class or something so we could kind of get our heads around this. Like, have you ever seen that master class stuff?
Yeah. I used to watch a lot of that stuff, like TED Talks and stuff. I mean, they should put on something of how you can just financially manage that kind of stuff. It's interesting to me.
If I was in the front office anywhere, how like Kyle was told, hey, go learn the defense or go sit in with the defensive coaches and pick everything up you can. If I was in the 49ers front office, I would be in Parag's office, like just listening to conversations and picking his brain. Why did you do that there? Why did you do this here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree. If I was a front office guy and I knew that at one point I may go leave and be a GM somewhere, I would pick that man's brain. I would probably hang around Parag all day and Adam Peters because I want to know what the hell Adam Peters is scouting. I want to see how he scouts, like, because that guy has such a talent, such an eye for talent. The amount of late round picks that he's been able to get, Hufanga, Kittle, Greenlaw, Jennings, and on and on. The list goes on. Elijah Mitchell, like the talent this guy gets is just, it's crazy to me. So I would definitely love to be around those two guys. So I'd be ultimate GM. I'd be drafting like a star, and I'd be setting contracts like a star, and nobody could touch me, man. Because those two, 49ers have some of the best front office people. That's why I think the Titans will really do well, because I think Rand Carthon is going to be a phenomenal GM there.
I think knowing that he came from San Francisco, I think a lot of people are going to try and go there who are young movers and shakers. And I think he's going to have the pick of the litter, essentially. And he's going to be able to groom his own. He might be the next, I got a lot of faith in the man for some reason. I didn't really know much about him, but every time I hear him talk and every time I see what he does, I'm like, okay. Like when I hear him talk, I get confidence. When I see the movies makes, I'm like, well, this is either going to work out or be really bad, but I have like all the confidence it's going to work out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I feel the same. Like he just commands like the room when he talks. Because I saw his press conference, his introductory press conference, and his story about how when they were scouting Elijah Mitchell and it was supposed to be a linebacker, D'Amico comes in and he sees this running back tape and he's like, holy shit, who's this guy? And Rand's like, yeah, that's Elijah Mitchell. He goes, whatever linebacker we're getting, we're drafting this running back, So it's like you could just see like this team. He creates that brotherhood. Everybody comes in. If your freaking defensive coordinator comes in and he sees this running back that you're presenting him on the tape, and he's like, dude, you got to get him for us. You got to get him for us. That's your defensive coordinator, and he's turning down a linebacker. He's like, go get this running back. It's amazing, man. So yeah, I agree. I think Rand's gonna, because people know he's from the 49ers. They're going to be like, okay, we got to go there because whatever they've been doing has been working. I mean, obviously, he already got a few 49er players, and I think there's going to be some free agents that follow through the next couple of years because of that connection with the 49ers. And I think he'll build this team right, going to rebuild a little bit, but that's a division where I think in 2 years he can have them up on the top of that division, competing with the Jaguars. Because right now the Jaguars are way ahead of everybody, but I think that can change as long as he puts the right talent.
Bulky is such a piece of shit.
I know. It's crazy, dude. It's crazy. But somehow, some way, that team was cooking. But to me, it's not Bulky. To me, it's Peterson, the coach. I feel like Bulky probably doesn't have as much power as he used to when he was with the 49ers. And I think Peterson is calling the shots, I think Balky's there for draft prowess. As much as I hate Balky, he did draft some good players, although he was an ACL lover, a lover of torn ACLs. But there was some talented people he brought up through the Niners. So I'm sure that he's there for drafting prowess. And Doug Peterson, man, that guy's a phenomenal coach. So I think I guess it works for them. I mean, of course, they have Trevor Lawrence. They got the most out of him because, man, Urban Meyer was a
oh my God,
NFL coach. God.
What a piece of shit of a person, too.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Like, again, whatever you want to go, do whatever. That's fine, but don't lie and say you're going home to be with your wife and the grandkids. Okay, like I don't care what you do, just don't make that horrible lie when you go and do it.
I know, man. What a piece of trash, dude. Just a horrible person. Unbelievable, man.
But that's the decisions you make when you're Trent Baalke. You're like, yeah, this won't blow up ever, even though every time he has a position. See, he's one of those people. I was talking about Chris Forrester. Urban Meyer's one of those people. He gets in a position of power. Everybody starts talking about him. He starts smelling his own farts. Next thing you know, he's doing lines of cocaine off of a table or something like that. And then he gets in trouble. And then he goes back. I'm not saying this is what actually happened, but, this is the kind of guy he is. And then he's, okay, comes back. Okay, this time I won't do cocaine. Okay, so now I'm just going to be drunk doing something. Oh, I got in trouble again. Well, why? Like every time I start feeling myself, I start being extra, and then no one likes me. Well, I think it's because no one liked you the whole time. And the moment you started being extra, somebody decided to throw you under the bus and show everybody how much of a piece of shit you are. So that's what I think is up with him. Like he's constantly look at what he did with the kicker. Like he thinks he's some fucking college coach still, where he can fucking ruin you if you're this and that. You're talking about NFL kicker. Like, bro, I think
that's the biggest takeaway. I think he still thinks he's like the big guy. Like if you fuck with me, I'm gonna cut you from the roster, or I'm gonna suspend your playing time. Or we're not in college anymore. These are grown men. They're not students. They're not college students. These guys are grown men, and they're NFL players. And you know what? If you do something, you push them up on the wall, they're going to come back at you, and they're going to make you look like an absolute idiot. You're going to look like an idiot. And they'll go to another team. They'll say, force me out of here. I want to trade. I don't need to be around this. They'll go to another team, and they'll look amazing on that other team, and they're going to make you look so stupid. So you're right. It's not college anymore, but I feel like that's the big test a lot of these coaches when they come from the college ranks to the NFL. It's hard for them to transition because in the NFL, they don't have like 5-star recruits. They don't always have the talent. They don't have the best players. In the college, they got the blue chippers. You got the best players on your team. You can say whatever you want. You have to make them
boosters.
Yeah, you got the boosters. They're going to bend over backwards for you. In the NFL, you got a salary cap. Nobody trusts you. Nobody believes in you until you start winning games. If you can't win games, get out of here. We'll go get the next guy. Get out of here. You're just an X's and an O's guy.
Yep. Well, we're hitting an hour, so I think we'll wrap it up here. Let the people know what you got going on for the rest of the week and next week and whatnot. Where they can find you.
we always got stuff cooking. Breaking news. We go live. Breaking news. We've been posting all the updates as always. The vibes. We do that. I have a show with Larry every Monday. We do Larry and Raj. We do a show every Monday at 1. I got a show with your boy Aaron, 49ers First Takes. We've been working on that. We've been doing that the last few weeks. It's been fun. I actually just I inked the deal. We just signed the deal. But no, we just figured out a time. Me and Wayne Breezy are going to be a show weekly now. We got a show with him. I'm going to be a busy guy now with all these shows. So I got Wayne Breezy weekly. And today when I was on Instagram, I had 2 players hop in, Tabor Pepper and Mooney Ward. They both popped in and they both said, let's do a show, man. So I've been trying so damn hard to get a show with these guys, the players. They always want to, but the logistics just never work. So I'm trying to figure out a time and a day and everything. I'm setting up a show. with Tabor Pepper, with Mooney Ward, and Spencer Burford. He's reached out to me too, but he was on vacation this week, and it's been free agency. So I have a show lined up with those guys soon. I don't know what the dates are, but as soon as we get the dates, I will make sure we're promoting it. But that's what I got. I got a lot of shows coming up, and so if you like to hear me talk, go and watch us. So appreciate y'all.
Yeah. I should have a show tonight with Lawrence from Platform 246. And then I've got my Friday night call-in tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. There is also a show going on right now, I believe, 49er Faithful. Or no, does that start at 7? I can't remember. But there's a whole big show going on with a whole bunch of 49ers content creators. If I'm not streaming, go check them out. Appreciate y'all for having us. And have a wonderful evening. Go Niners.
Go Niners. Go Javon Hargrave, baby.
Peace.